whose son was born with a birth defect that took his life. I hear it from someone who made decisions decades earlier that they now regret and can barely stand to verbalize. Why may be the most common question we ask. You may be the one posing the question right now. Perhaps you are facing the biggest mountain of your life. You have been given a hardship you don't think you can survive. You want to bounce back, but sometimes just getting out of bed is a task. I have met you, or at least someone like you. One at a time, I have talked to thousands of sufferers. They each took their spot on the soft plaid love seat in my office. They bravely unfolded their story, and at one point or another posed the question, why? Early in my years of counseling, I was intimidated by that question. I am not a theologian, and I cannot unpack every Greek or Hebrew phrase in God's Word. I felt insecure trying to offer a theological response to a question a human being can never fully answer. You see, our real question is not, why has God allowed this or that to occur in my life? The underlying and most significant why of all this is, why would a loving, all-knowing, and all-powerful God allow evil to exist? Evil summarizes the trauma, the pain, the death, the crux of all our suffering and pain, and we as Christians sometimes wonder why God allows the situations in our lives that take us to our knees. I've studied God's Word as well as some great books that address suffering. I have come to the conclusion that God allows some suffering in our lives to expose the fullness of His character, His love and mercy, His compassion and concern, His forgiveness and redemption, His grace. In a perfect world, without suffering, we would never have the opportunity to experience the fullness of God. While this understanding is important, it will never fully answer the why of our specific trials. And it certainly is not sufficient in helping us cope during our suffering. After nearly 20 years of counseling and serving in Christian ministry, I've encountered many who have narrowly and sometimes destructively survived their pain. If you are suffering today, all too aware of your weakness, you can learn to suffer well. You don't have to be a slave to inevitable struggles. In fact, you can learn healthy coping skills that will propel you to bounce back and even help you thrive. In the pages ahead, I am not going to try to simply explain why your suffering exists. Asking why creates an empty cycle of frustration that you have probably explored unsuccessfully. Why is the wrong question altogether and has possibly even lured you deeper into this pit you are screaming to exit. Instead of remaining stuck, we're going to learn to bounce back. Let's learn to live well when suffering is an inescapable part of life. This book is a culmination of great truths I have learned from thousands of everyday people who have borne unthinkable pain and have trusted me amid their journey. They have taught me immeasurable amounts about how destructive we as humans can become when our pain paralyzes us. They have shown me how incredibly healthy and inspiring one who suffers well can be. Through disguised and composite stories in the chapters to follow, I'll introduce you to many of these people. You'll have the chance to learn from those who have been stuck and who have unintentionally developed disastrous methods of coping. You'll also meet some heroes who have built resilience and suffered well in the face of terrible circumstances. You are about to encounter something different. No more wasting time exploring why you are suffering. You're going to discover how to survive and how to survive well. You're going to learn to focus on the practical aspects of suffering, which will hopefully keep you off a plaid love seat in an office that looks a lot like mine. Why is not the only destructive question you'll learn about. A host of useless thoughts, questions, and coping skills are keeping you stuck. And unfortunately, life can become much more challenging if those poor thought processes and coping skills aren't brought under control. So you're going to learn to bounce back by changing the way you think and adopting healthy skills that will transform the way you suffer. Each chapter has a distinctive purpose and flows somewhat like the counseling process. I assign homework for my